What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time for OnComicsGrounds.com's flagship podcast, Panel to Panel, where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are back here once again, after a little bit of time off with the current situation we have going on across the world. We have had a little bit of time off trying to deal with social distancing and everything, but we have returned remotely as we usually do anyway. But we have made it back to each other once again. Travis will not be here this evening due to a quick spot of strep throat that he was hit with. Thankfully, it isn't anything other than that. But he will be back soon enough to join us once again. But this evening, we have a special guest, and we will get to him in a moment. But don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, all those great podcast platforms. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Well, no, just Twitter at PTP_podcast. And you can check out the website on Comics Grounds, Twitter and Instagram at On Comics Ground, and the website oncomicsground.com with some hyphens between those words. That way you can check out all of our reviews, previews, and solicitations that we release. Normally, we every weekday, but currently we're kind of just on a pause because of the current situation. But we will be releasing some back issue reviews coming out soon, so get ready for that, because with everyone inside, we need some good books to read. So get ready to check out that. All right, my name is James Portis. We're all inside, trying to keep our sanity. To my left, we have my amazing co-host who is somehow surviving the current situation we are all suffering and not like going insane like I am. Mary, how are you doing today?
No one said I wasn't going insane.
I mean, you seem more stable than me on Twitter trying to have conversations with folks. I'm not doing too hot, but you know what? We're here.
James, last night I just posted an entire thread that was nothing but panda gifs. So, like, that's how I'm making it through.
That's awesome. I need to go see this thread later. Oh my God, that sounds awesome. But other than now that we're past the panda gifts and everything, but how are you doing today, Mary?
I'm doing okay. I have tea, I have Pop-Tarts, I'm ready to go.
Ooh, what kind?
Oh, just like the super duper chocolate ones.
Oh, okay. And then our special guest for the evening, we have the amazing comic writer who has released some different one-shots. The one that we wanted to spotlight this evening was The World's Strongest from Action Lab. We have writer Juan Ponce. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Hey, everybody.
Is there anything you want to like shout out, plug, any projects you have going on before we get into this interview?
Sure. Okay. So my Twitter handle is @LOzymandias. And well, I have stuff coming up, but I don't know if I could talk about most of it. But look forward to some short stories really soon. I have a story called A Match coming out with George Campadias. So yeah, that's one of the projects you can look forward to.
All right. Well, in terms of sort of like normally how we do things when we bring someone on, we want to know their origin story, their zero issue. What was the thing that got you into comics that we can kick off with for everybody?
Okay. So I was just talking to my wife about this, actually. I think, because, I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, I think comics came to me. I didn't come to comics. So, like, when I was in college, they gave me the book Persepolis. And I like...
Such a good book.
Oh, it is. Oh, yes, it is. And I read it. And I probably read it like when I was like, I don't know, 19. And then probably like 2 years passed. And I don't know why. I had to reread it. And I just reread that book. And then I reread what is it? I read the following one. And then after that, it just led me to other books. From there, I'm like, oh, this is great. Hey, what is this mouse thing Amazon's recommending? And then from there, I went to Mouse, and then from there to Watchmen, and then just I became obsessed with Alan Moore, Frank Miller, and yeah, like that's just how I got started in comics, like loving them. I just got addicted like hard.
And Persepolis, that is such a good introduction into the medium as a whole. It's such a powerful story.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. It really teaches you the language of comics, the power they have. It's great.
All right. Mary, do you want to kick off from here?
Yeah, just give me a half. Let me take a sip. Sorry, I have a touch of a sore throat tonight. I swear I will get healthy eventually. I have just been in a.
I was about to say, you've been recovered from the brink of death recently.
I know. I caught whatever. I think I caught Concrete after C2E2, and then it's just kind of spiraled out from there. And it certainly does not help that it's allergy season.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so the book that we're talking about tonight, and the reason why we asked Juan to come on, is that it is a digital release for a one-shot book called The World's Strongest. It is about a mother, a wife, an accountant, and she's a superhero too. And it's such a sweet book, and
it really is.
Well, thank you.
I think a lot of kids, like to look up to their parents as superheroes, because I mean, for me, my dad was certainly a superhero for me, and so I think this is kind of it's a lot of fun, and you get to see Samantha be a superhero and juggle kids and whatnot with it. So I think my first question is, what was the inspiration for this book? Like, what made you decide that this was a story you wanted to write?
Well, so I wrote this story. It's called A Moment in Time. It was like my first like big short. I did it with Ariana Mayer and Beverly Johnson, and the story was like about this old woman that makes she goes in search of the Loch Ness monster, like because it was like something her and her husband shared. It was like a sign of their friendship, of their love. And the thing about it is the main focus was about this older woman. And I just thought it was so interesting to write this story from the perspective of a woman, because I just felt like there's so much more there. We've seen the story of like the old man, and everything that, from the male perspective. And I really fell in love writing this story about like this elderly woman looking for the Loch Ness monster. So when I finished that story, I thought to myself, why don't I tell a superhero story that's grounded in the reality of today and do it through the perspective of a woman again? And the inspiration for it was my mom. It was the same thing. Like my mom would work like these graveyard shift. I'd see her maybe like 4 hours a day growing up, if even that. Sometimes like 2 weeks, like I wouldn't see her, but she'd always work hard and she'd be there, and she did it so I could go to college and have these opportunities. So I thought to myself, you know what, like, what's a better story than a superhero that's like this hardworking mother who gives it all for her family and for society? And that's pretty much how it came about. I just thought a lot about my mom, about my wife too. She's always grinding, and yeah. And well, okay, so just to backtrack a bit, I'm from South Los Angeles, so the world I grew up in is predominantly African American. Like my biggest role models are women of color, African American women. These are just the people that I see. Like I grew up seeing and admiring. So when I wrote this story, like I knew Samantha Pierce had to be African American, because that's where I see strength. That's the world I grew up in. And yeah, it just seemed realistic to me. It seemed like a great story of a hardworking woman. Yeah. Hope that's okay.
No, you're fine. It's great. No, it absolutely is. And I like that in the story, I'm trying not to give too much away here, but you can get this on Comixology, and I highly suggest that you do. But there's even a moment where we see her kind of get a hit in her professional life as well, because someone gets promoted ahead of her, and she trained this guy. And so I think it's interesting, like you were just talking about, that we get to kind of see it from different areas of Samantha's life.
Yeah, definitely.
if that made any sense at all.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I'm really glad you pointed that out. So that scene was very important to me. Like early on, when I was working, because originally this story was actually going to be a short story. It was going to be one of my other short stories. But my artist Matthew Gelman, my collaborator, and editor, he told me, he's like, dude, this should be a longer story. And I just had the main beats, including that scene. And I thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, let's make it a full issue. Let's go. And I really wanted to carry on that scene. Like, no matter what else got scrapped, that one had to stick in there. Because the thing is, how do I say it? Okay, so I'm not a woman, and I'm not African American, but I am a man of color, and I get it. I've been there, like, where you're overlooked, and people don't even know sometimes that they're doing what they're doing, like, because it's just the way society has us going. So I wanted to get that through. Like, Samantha, like, her coworker Blake, he's not a bad dude. No, don't by any means. I don't even think he knows what he's doing is wrong. But it's little things like that happen every day that I think are important to capture, because it's just part of the struggle. And yeah, that meant a lot to me, that scene right there.
And not only that, another like what's almost parallel to that, like, because you normally see like the almost like demonization of the second job they have, or like the first job of their normal identity, kind of being like of a superhero, kind of being that like pain in their side. But you're right, the dude's just getting a promotion and happens to just get it. He's not like being mean to Samantha or anything like that. And then you look at what she says towards the end with the real villains. She's dealt with struggle in her life before. She's not afraid to deal with it when she's already been kicked down before. That spoke to me highly as a person of color, and to see that happen when we do constantly deal with the struggle we do. So like that stuck out to me a lot. Like, do you want to speak on that one at all?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and that was the point. Yeah, I'm really glad that you pointed that out. Like, that they go, yeah, because that was exactly it. Like, you see what she goes through on a daily basis, just the social struggle. This is just, this is her Tuesday. This is what she goes through, and she always goes through this. And yeah, it's like the world keeps on pushing you down, but we just got to keep pushing back. Like, we just got to keep going, and that's just our struggle. Like, as a people, like, not just people of color, but women, minorities. Like, this is what we deal with every day. And that's kind of like why she's the world's strongest. Because, yeah, she's literally the world's strongest human being, but she's also got a lot of heart. She's strong because society also made her strong.
Okay. And then like one thing that I was trying to figure out as to why you were doing this across the entire book was like, what made you not want to tell more of an origin story for this character? Because like, she doesn't even really say what her name is. Like, the city named her Black Swan. Like, what made you sort of just jump right in as sort of like a midpoint or like a chapter 2 for this one shot?
Yeah, good question. So, like, what I think it is a little bit of the idea of labeling. Like, people, like, sometimes we judge other people, like I said, like, without even knowing. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We think it's okay, but maybe it's not. Like, they give her the name Black Swan. I'm pretty sure Metro City didn't mean it in a bad way, but like she says, before, when she had the motorcycle helmet, she was the Metro City Warrior, because they probably didn't know she was a female. They probably, that she was a woman of color. She takes it off, suddenly she's Black Swan, because, and maybe it's true, like, the colors do match literally how a Black Swan looks. But at the same time, it's like, they're not thinking about what they're saying. And the reason I started off the whole issue with like that big punch, like, we don't know much about her. We get that she's the world's strongest woman, and we see that she's heroic, but that's it. Like, we're like the people of Metro City. This is what we see. We don't know much about her. And as the story goes on, we get to know Samantha. We get to know the stuff that bothers her everyday grind. But, it was important to just show like the idea of seeing, conceiving and coming up with these labels for people, and even for superheroes. I kind of did relate it kind of back to like you think about some of the Silver Age heroes and the names they gave them. Like maybe people didn't mean it in a bad way, but they created these characters and they associated certain things with the names they gave them. And yeah, so that's why. Hopefully that answered it.
Oh no, that definitely did answer it. Mary, you got one for him?
I do. Reading it, I actually kind of ended up falling in love with John, who, for people listening, John is Samantha's husband, and they have such a wonderful relationship, even in just a few pages. Like, he worries about her, and at one point when somebody dares to disrupt the sanctity of Ice Cream Tuesday, which I mean, come on now, we all love Ice Cream Tuesday.
Same.
That she is in her public identity, if you will, but he's the one that steps in and does it, and I like that representation of a mutual partnership. So I mean, the fact that he is confident within the family, within his job, but still gives Samantha the agency to be the superhero, but at the same time he's still going to protect his family. I really liked that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love writing John too. Like, to me it was like I think when two people are in love, that's the way it should be. They should be supportive of one another, and I really wanted to carry that across. And when he goes in there and he kind of saves the day right there, so Samantha doesn't have to. Like, it's kind of like he loves his wife, but she's also his best friend, and he admires her. Because at the end, after he does what he does, he says like, I'm inspired by your mom. I'm inspired by Samantha. He tells his daughter. And I think that's like a sign of like a really good, like when you love someone, I think that's what it is. I think they're your friend, and I think you admire them, and that's the way it should be. You should support one another. And I really wanted to carry that across because, yeah, I think like since they're married, I think he wouldn't hide that. She wouldn't hide that. She wouldn't hide that she's a superhero. She would like lay it all on the table for John because that's her best friend.
And I think it's such a nice counterexample to particularly what's going on in big two superhero books right now, where if you want the superhero to have a source of drama, you immediately go to the character romantically associated with them. And so I think it's a lot of fun seeing it the other way. So
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like I feel like, yeah, like John is like he were like we see in this issue, like they've had years together probably of dealing with this, but now that it's getting real, now that Samantha has to deal with like these powerful mechs that are as strong as her, maybe even stronger, they don't know, like John is getting worried, and he's not trying to control her life. He's letting her know, like, you're my best friend, you mean the world to me, I admire you, and I just don't want you to get hurt, and it's like John is like, he's literally like her sidekick, it'd be like, I don't know, Robin in danger or something. Like, he can handle his own, but yeah, he's right there, he's right there always to support her. Yeah.
For me, one thing that stuck out was that, like, you have John who knows the secret. You have her mom who knows the secret, but the daughter seems like the only one that wasn't clued in. What was your intent behind that, and not like sort of making it a whole family partnership kind of thing, or even like that old cliche of like the child almost spilling the beans during show and tell kind of thing could have happened? Like, what was your intent behind that?
I think Samantha she just doesn't think it's the right time to tell her daughter right now. Like, her daughter really admires her. Well, admires her, but admires Black Swan a lot. She's a fan. If she were to tell her daughter, I'm pretty sure she'd be super like happy, but she chooses not to because I think she considers it kind of, yeah, like it's better if she doesn't know, because it's just like, why would you want to put that pressure on your child, you know? Because now, like, she thinks mommy's going to that second job that's probably another office job, you know, telemarket or something, you know, like knowing that her mom is Black Swan is awesome, but now, like, you know, just like her husband, she knows there's mechs, she knows there's big things coming after her, and you see the toll it takes on her other family members, and I'm pretty sure she just doesn't want that for her daughter yet. Now, I don't know if I could say this. Well, okay, so actually, I really dug this book. Like, and it was super cool of them to take a chance on a one shot, because, well, like, no one really takes a chance on a one shot. These things are like, yeah, it's usually not what publishers do. Now, I don't know how much I could say, but screw it. Like, if the book does well, you could probably, maybe this might not just be a one shot.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would be
and yeah, it would be awesome. But I do have an idea. Like, if I get to make more, I'd love for that talk to happen where she does find out, and I'd like to do it the only way you could do it is super heroics, like big and crazy.
Okay. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, like I hope I get the chance. Yeah, we'll see. So, like, hey, everybody, you could get a digital copy. Run to your Comixology digital store. Hurry.
Yeah, and I've got a few just surface questions. I'm the kind of person that loves to know every little detail, but what is the source of Samantha's superhero abilities?
Ooh,
or are you able to, like, give that away now or not?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think I have to probably hold up on that, because I would love to explore it. You guys read Zero Year, right? Batman Zero Year?
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that book. You know?
Ooh. As an avid fan, yeah, like two of us, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say this, like, it's definitely ingrained in her DNA. Like, this is who she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love a sneak peek.
Yeah, Samantha. Yeah, this is something that, that maybe, you know, like, yeah, could be maybe something family related. You know, it's a very family oriented book.
Okay, I'm digging this.
And my other question is, at what point did you decide that you wanted this to be an all ages book? Because, you know, when I was reading it in tone and in feel, it's actually very similar to Jeremy Whitley's Princess that is also through action. So I think it's fun to kind of see the theme, the tone in both books be similar.
Well, I am a huge fan of Miss Marvel. Like, G. Willow Wilson's Miss Marvel is like one of my favorite superhero runs. I love it. And I wanted to make something similar. I wanted to make a book that, you know, somebody, like, children could read, because I think it's a great market. I do. I think making superheroes like that give you hope and inspiration in a world in which, you know, there doesn't have to be like this mass like violence or cuss words. Like, I like it. I love like stories like Miss Marvel or Miles Morales Spider-Man. I love those books. And I really, from the moment I started outlining the book, I knew that I wanted it to be something. At that time, you know, I didn't know I was going to be a dad, but I was like, hey, if I ever have, you know, a little girl, I'd love for her to pick it up. But as soon as she could read, I would love for her to read this, or I could read it to her. And yeah, like, it just so have like post-production, I find out I'm going to be a dad, which is crazy. Like, but it worked out. Yeah, it's great. Like, I wanted it to be something I could read to my nieces and nephews, and, you know, my daughter, just like I would read her Miss Marvel.
That's so sweet.
That's really amazing.
Thank you.
I honestly, the idea of there being more all ages superhero books that we haven't really seen that in a while. Like, yeah, there's books like Ms. Marvel and Miles Morales, but to have that kind of superhero out there, it could be really cool to see that grow. I would love to see that go on.
Oh, me too.
And especially since it's still a developing genre, if you will, in the modern age of comics. Is I think, especially since the advent of, Kamala as Miss Marvel, we've really seen comics take a huge shift, in the expansion of the young adult market has been, it's been wonderful, because I think it serves as a great entry point for kids to get into comics, because when I was a kid and I was reading my dad's old Superman issues from the 80s, I certainly did not understand everything that was going on. But having these books that the kids are able to fully engage in the story, but at the same time they're not just strictly for kids.
Yes.
And I think that's something that G. Willow Wilson did very, very well. Is that, Miss Marvel was a fantastic book for kids, but it's not just for kids. And I got that same feeling reading this. Is like, yes, it is an all ages book, but all ages means everybody. So
yeah, and that's why I also made the protagonist. Samantha's like she's 38. I also wanted to make a story that people like us could relate to. Like, this is not like, she's not as young as like Spider-Man. She's even a little older probably than Bruce Wayne. This is the working class hero, and like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a story where, like, yeah, the kids, like, hopefully the world is magical enough that they're like, yeah, I could get into this, but also the adults are like, oh yeah, I get that. I totally feel that. I get what she's going through.
Excellent. One thing that I even noticed is, because I even got sort of a Black Lightning vibe from the book, the idea of being that parent who's also a hero kind of feel. Is there any hope in the future of, like, sort of tackling not necessarily adult issues, but more everyday issues that people of color face?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. Like, for example, like that office scene. Oh, I would love to expand on that. I'd love to expand on, because, like I said, I don't think Blake is I don't think he's not a bad dude. He's young. He's a little arrogant, but everyone's a little arrogant at some point in their life. Like, when we're young, we do things that sometimes in hindsight we're like, oh man, that was really dumb, but we don't notice it at the time. And I'd love to explore that. I'd like for us to see characters grow and their interactions with Samantha, and Samantha, like, maybe teaching them something and learning something off of them too, like, still herself growing, because we never stop growing. That's another thing. Like, as people, we always evolve. We become better people by getting to experience things from other people's perspective. And I would love to explore that, just in the office scene, but just overall Metro City. I want, like, what if they knew that maybe she's not so happy with the name Black Swan? What are they going to do? They love her. They love her. And at the same time, you have, like, these robots who clearly were made, to essentially kill Samantha in case something happens, or maybe just, for any reason, just to have these guys ready to, like, put her, like, to try to control her. Like, I like to explore that dynamic too. Like, there's a lot going around Samantha, and a lot of it goes back to, like, social issues, and I'd love to go into that.
Excellent. Mary, you got anything else to add on this?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to make sense of my notes. I have I have very unfortunate penmanship, as my grandmother would say.
I hear that. Like, I'm looking at literally chicken scratch next to me, and these are supposed to be an outline for a book. So yeah.
I have been there.
That is hilarious. I think the thing that I want to definitely commend you on is that like you do write these characters as normal people. There's always that fear that I've after talking to like a couple of different like writers who are people of color, that fear of stepping out on like a different person's platform and trying to actually convey the right tone, because like throughout history of comics we've definitely had the sort of like jive talking blaxploitation era of black culture in comics, and I do really like that they come off as normal people. You're not trying to talk in a way that isn't them or isn't you, so I really do appreciate that specifically.
Thanks, but I can't take full credit on that. I grew up in like an area that's like just full of African American people, Hispanic people, Central American people. Like, so I my whole life I grew up like knowing that we talk normal. Like we're not these like caricatures that that have been in films and stuff. But at the same time, I knew that I was born in Mexico. So, and I came here like at 3 years old, and like my point of view is not. I could get in other people's shoes, but I'm still gonna need a little bit of help. So, from the moment I knew this was gonna be a whole entire issue, I contacted Steens, like my editor, Christina. She's awesome. Like, I told her like, you know what, like since day one, I've thought about you to be the editor for this. And like, can you help me make sure that these characters sound great, that this book is like going, like it's following the right track? And she did. She definitely told me, hey, this doesn't sound like this doesn't sound like how people talk. Can you fix this? I'm like, sure. She even pointed out stuff in the art where she's like, like maybe change the lighting here. Like she made this book so much better and so much more realistic. So yeah, like it's I owe a huge thank you to Steens. She's like, I really hope if I don't know, because now I think she's like really somebody huge in Mad Cave Studios.
That's where I knew that name from. I'm like, don't I know this? Wasn't I just having a talk with Chris Sanchez? And then I heard that, like, yes.
Yeah, she so I wanted her when I started writing the script. I wanted her, and she was at that time at what is that, the Lion Forge. She was at Lion Forge. So like, yeah, and I loved her voice, but I knew she wasn't gonna like, she's at Lion Forge. She probably doesn't have time for no indie book. But then as soon as I saw that she had a availability, I jumped. I'm like, hey, I have a book, and you're like perfect for it. Like, can you please jump on it? And she was nice enough to be like, yeah, all right, let's do this. And now she's at Mad Cave Studios, but I'm hoping that then down the line, if things work out and we get some more, she already said she'd love to edit the rest of like the series, and I hope that can still happen because her voice is super important to this book. Like, I can't see myself going forward without her. Yeah, she's awesome.
And I'm really glad she got to go to Mad Cave, because that Lion Forge Oni merger, that was just it was brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
But circling back to John real quick, something I forgot to mention earlier. I like that he's a 911 dispatch, because in no universe is that an easy job. I've had a family that work as 911 dispatches, and there were some days that it was grim sometimes. And so I like that again, that Samantha and John kind of play off each other in a partnership, that they both get to see both the good and the bad. And I think again, that is something that we don't really see in modern superhero books, because I have spent way too much of my life reading superhero books, and I always love it when we get to see narratives that are subverted a little bit, because more often than not, the love interest is usually just kind of plot like a plot device. So it is definitely interesting to see them both as fully formed characters, and to see the partnership is fully formed. I'm definitely getting a lot of Superman and Lois vibes there.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And even in the just the way that Samantha and Maya interact, I'm actually getting a little bit of Spider-Woman there too, because we recently got to see her become a mother. And
Love that book.
Oh god, it's so great though.
Yeah, the hope. Yeah, I love the hopeless run. Oh my
Mhm.
god, it was that was awesome. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm a huge Dennis Hopeless fan.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's really fun to see, the best elements taken, while at the same time, you're completely subverting narratives of, the same tropes that we see time and time again. So
Yeah, I definitely, John, like, since he supports her, like he's there for her, there has to be like a certain amount of fearlessness from him too, and I thought that was the right job for him. Like, so he's someone who deals with danger, who's seen some rough stuff. That's also why he tells her, like, in the middle, maybe you should stop this because things are getting pretty dark. He's been there. He's seen what happens when things get really bad. He knows the dangers. But that's also why he understands what she does, because he himself still goes to that job every night knowing that things are grim. So he's there not just as support, but as someone who can relate. And I thought that was important, that these are two fearless people, and that's why they're attracted to each other. I think that's like, you always find love in someone that you can relate to, and I thought that was something they could relate to really well, that they're both they're heroes. They're both heroes.
I love that. In the future, is there any site, like, if you do get to continue this, is there any like point where you'll see more of what John does? Because that way there is more of a parallel, like vocal, like sort of visualized for the audience, and seeing how he struggles while also she's struggling like she did in this issue.
Yeah, I definitely would love to explore the whole Pierce family. I'd love to see the world through Maya's eyes. I'd love to see the world through John's eyes. Even like I want to go deeper into John and how her world affects him and his world affects her. And I would love to also help John maybe no, that's a sport. I'd love for John to get more involved in other parts of her. Yeah, maybe we'll see John. Yeah, maybe we'll see John get to know that world a little more too.
Oh, all right. That actually sounds exciting. I can't wait to see what develops there.
Right. And I don't want to give it away, but I have to say, I think my favorite part of the book is the last page.
That's probably my favorite thing that I've ever written. We can go in, guys. Like, it's okay. I'll just tell people on Twitter, hey, read the book before you listen to this. It'll help.
Yep. But
yeah.
I mean,
it's definitely worth the read.
Oh, thank you.
But I mean, to see Samantha and her mother and her mom trying to come to terms with it, like, she knows why Samantha is doing it, and she she respects her and she trusts her for it, but kind of like why does it have to be you? Why do you do this? And then to transition to something just so sweet and so loving as Samantha just watching her daughter sleep, and with the poster of her right above her bed. And I think that is just it's such a powerful couple of panels. It's a great page, and I do kind of like the whole generational thing that's happening there, and I think it's easily my favorite page in the book.
Oh yeah, mine's too. I'm gonna have to buy that off of Matthew. He knocked it off the ballpark with that one. It was really sweet.
Oh yeah, his art is absolutely phenomenal throughout.
Yeah, he wanted to go for like a Scott Pilgrim vibe, and I was like so down for it. We worked on another book, Karate Fox, and I told him, like, hey dude, do you want to do like a superhero book? And he was like super excited, like, yes, I want to make it like with a Scott Pilgrim feel. And yeah, he delivered. And he did. What I really loved is that he was able to bring the emotion, especially in that last page. I thought it was so perfect. Like as I wrote it, I cried. When I saw it, I freaking bursted again in tears. It was perfect. And when she says, like, yeah, you know, she's like, the answer to that question of why do you do this? And she's like, she simply says, because I can. That came from the idea of like, I thought to myself, why do I love Superman? You know, why do we all love Superman? What makes Superman so amazing? And it's because he does what he does simply because it's the right thing to do. He cares. And that's what makes him such an endearing character. And that's actually the heart of a superhero. Like that was my whole thesis to this whole thing. What makes a superhero? And what makes a superhero? Selflessness. Like I like to believe that if Batman's parents never got shot in that alley, we'd still maybe have a Batman. We'd still have a guy that just felt like it was his duty. Because that's the heart of a superhero. It's someone who rushes into the building, doesn't care about what happens to them because it's not about them. It's about everyone else. And that's what makes superheroes super. It's that idea that it's someone who's going to throw it all on the line just because. And that was important to me.
Excellent. All right. Well, honestly, this was actually an amazing conversation.
Oh,
thank you so much for wanting to come on to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so much fun. You guys are awesome.
Most definitely. Whenever you have a new project, we would love to help you pimp it, get more people on the eyes on this. Because like, I love your writing style. You have such a human way about doing things. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, I would hope he has a human way about writing. I'd be a little confused if there's anything else.
Like you know what I mean? Like just like
yeah, definitely.
not only from that, but also like he actually went through the effort of trying to find the correct voice for these characters. Is what I'm trying to like.
James, James, I have at least one smart ass joke per show. You know this.
That's true. You're right. All right, folks. Do you once again want to shout things out for folks that way they know where they can find you and find your work?
Because you also have a few other books on Comixology, don't you?
Yes, I do. I have the story I told you, like with Ariana Mayer and Beverly Johnson, who did the cover actually for The World's Strongest. That lovely cover is by Beverly Johnson. We made a story called A Moment in Time, and it's about these two children that spot the Loch Ness monster and have a long time friendship because of it. And one of those children grows up to go look for the Loch Ness monster, and maybe or maybe not goes to another dimension. I don't know. You'll have to read to find out. Then there's Karate Fox, which if you enjoyed The World's Strongest, that's like the origin story of The World's Strongest in a way, because that's where my colorist, John Ewan, and my collaborator in art, Matthew Gelman, that's where I met them. Like we worked together on a story called Karate Fox about a butt-kicking fox that's out to stop Wolf of Wall Street from stealing the golden carrot of Konehito. It's a fun little 6-page story if you want to check it out. Wow. I actually think it's free on my Twitter. Just look around, you'll find it. I have it for free also if you want to try before you buy. Actually, wait, A Moment in Time is free right now too because of this whole horrible situation we're in right now. I decided to just put it for free on Twitter. I'll repost all this on my Twitter right after this interview. I'll put it up there. Yeah, you could actually read A Moment in Time and Karate Fox for free. And then if you really want to support it, you could go on Comixology and buy them. And I also, if you look at my Comixology page under Juan Ponce, you'll see that I also edited my friend Jose's story, Universe Protectors. He says I edited. I just give him some pointers. He did most of the work. Like it's like a crazy manga story. Like everyone would dig it. Just check it out. Yeah, it's definitely got a unique voice to it. And let me see. I haven't posted that yet. Yeah, so those are the stories I have available right now. There's a short story coming out soon, probably to Comixology, other sites. It's called A Match, and you can look forward to that one. It will be out before the summer. And I have a big book coming out in the fall. I'll say the name. It's called 33, and it's with Gavin Guidry from Going to the Chapel. And Marco Finnegan, he also worked on it. Ellie Wright, who works on Betty Page. And again, Ariana Mayer, who's like my comics guru. She's like always had my back and helped me out since the first day I stepped into this ring. She's the letterer. Yeah, look for that one in the fall. That one's a big one. I really am excited to share that one. Like, I'm getting pages every day from Gavin, and this is like insane what he's delivering. Like, you think the big two are bringing it? Wait till you see this. This is some crazy stuff.
All right, dope. Well, once again, thank you for coming on to the show. This was definitely an amazing time to have you on, because we all got nothing but time. Don't forget, folks. Yeah, I know, right? Don't forget, folks, you can check out this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, all those great podcast platforms. I'm still waiting to hear from iHeartRadio for this show. I don't know why it's taking so long, but we're still waiting on that. You can follow us on Twitter at PTP_podcast. You can also follow the website On Comics Ground on Twitter and Instagram at On Comics Ground. And you can check out the website oncomicsground.com. Put some hyphens between those words for me, where you can find all of our reviews, previews, and solicitations when we are normally operational, or you can check out our back issue reviews. We will be starting next week. All right, folks. Mary, do you have a closing statement for this episode?
Like James said, we've got nothing but time, so pop on over to Comixology and do a little bit of shopping.
Oh, definitely. My closing statement, as always, is support your local comic book shop if you can. I know a lot of stores are still trying to do like mail order and pickup orders. Like some even have Comixology links, so reach out to your store if you can. Juan, do you have a closing statement that you want to like give to the folks?
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, and thank you for getting me through this. Like, I listen to this podcast like all the time at work, because I'm catching up on episodes. Like, I'm right now. I'm getting to that. I'm going backwards, so right now I'm getting to that Batman v Superman one, which is exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. You can find short story. I have like stories that aren't just on Comixology. I have short stories that are free on my Twitter, so just check them out. I'll repost them today at L Ozymandias. And that's about it. I hope I could come back and talk about 33. I really think y'all will dig it. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and this was fun. Thank you so much. It was so great.
We will catch you folks right here next time on Panel to Panel. Peace out.